one, having like a through line of like what is the theme for what you're trying to accomplish is like a really big thing for me, at least. And I try to like figure that out early on, like months ahead, to make sure it's consistent with like marketing and like whoever is like hopping on your team, like they get the idea of like what you're trying to accomplish, and then everybody has like the same goal. So like that, it feels like it's like a small detail, but it is like a difficult thing to establish early on. It's like branding, right? It's like making sure that people, without them even knowing it, feel it.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on? I am Ramsey Said What. This is episode 310 of the A-Side B-Side podcast, a branded podcast by what'sthemovement.net. As always, rate, subscribe, review. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to press play. In this episode, I got to sit down with do-it-all Renaissance woman, Parisse of Rahway, New Jersey. We talked about her Hearts of the City Festival, in addition to all the other projects she's a part of. If you're watching, this is the instrumental to Fear No Evil by Will Be Free, the artist formerly known as Shakespeare. If you're listening, you're going to get to hear the full track, and after that, the full interview. So, as always, I need you to feel this. What's going on? I'm Ramsey Said What. This is the A-Side B-Side podcast, a branded podcast by what'sthemovement.net. It's been a minute. I feel like I haven't been putting podcasts out because, busy. But what's going on? I like to let my guests introduce themselves, so take it away.
Big feet. I am Parisse. I do a lot of things. I don't know where to start there, but I normally like to call myself just a creative, and if people want to get into details, I tell them a little bit more.
Well, literally in my notes, my first question was going to be, how do you answer that question? Because I don't know how to answer that for myself, honestly.
Ooh, yeah.
So how do you answer, like, what do you do?
It's tough because everybody's like, you have to master your 15-second elevator pitch and da-da-da-da.
There's Instagram. We don't have to do that anymore.
Right? But I like to keep it short and just say, like, I'm creative, I write, I produce, and I work around music. So I like hit those 3 points. Okay. And if people are like, oh, what do you do with this? What do you do with that? Then I go into details. But if that's intriguing, then cool.
Okay. So, also, I was supposed to plug where we're at. You can walk in, man. It's all good. This is your house.
Not for real.
Yeah, no. You don't even have to be quiet. It's all good because I was supposed to name drop where I was. I promised I would do that in using your space, sir. So, shout out to V. We're here at Darkside Industries in the city of Rahway, your hometown, as you said earlier. I can tell, like, you know how like a lot of people like love where they're from and like they rep home. I feel like you really do, like heavily than most people, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that's just like in our DNA in Rahway. Like it's just like it's been a thing since we were like in elementary school, middle school, like to be able to rep your city. And like if you ask anybody who's from here, like 07065 is like a big thing that we say anywhere we go.
That's cool.
Saying our zip code is just like a huge thing for us. So I think that's part of like just who we were made up to be, to have like this pride within our town. Yeah. And be prideful in everything that we do.
Yeah. I feel like Jersey feels that way about like Jersey as a whole, but not other people's towns. Like it's like, I don't really fuck with that nigga. But like when they out like shining in the world, it's like, oh, he from Jersey. Like that's, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know. I have no idea where I was going to segue that. But you also, so you do the Talent Project and Hearts in the City Festival. How many years have you been doing that now? Both, honestly.
I started Talent Project like 2017. God, yeah, that feels like forever ago. But then it transitioned to Heart of the City like 2021. Okay. Like right at when we were coming out of the pandemic. So.
Gotcha. I am ashamed to say I haven't been to either of them. The first one was my weekend of my wedding, so obviously. And then last year I was just in New Orleans or something like that. I was running around.
It's all right.
Wedding or bachelor party or something like that. But it always looks lit. Oh. So, so I too throw shows, so I already know the stress, but not that level of stress. I'm not going to even try to say I do that. So like, what's like a hard thing, like somebody that wouldn't know, like what's like a challenge that somebody that wouldn't know throwing a festival entails?
Yeah. At least for me, I think one, having like a through line of like what is the theme for what you're trying to accomplish is like a really big thing for me, at least. And I try to like figure that out early on, like months ahead, to make sure it's consistent with like marketing and like whoever is like hopping on your team, like they get the idea of like what you're trying to accomplish, and then everybody has like the same goal. So like that, it feels like it's like a small detail, but it is like a difficult thing to establish early on. It's like branding, right? It's like making sure that people, without them even knowing it, feel it. Yeah. And then they don't even know that like it took like days, months to figure out what that is for them, what that feeling is. Yeah.
And then like team buy-in, like getting like so many moving parts, like to, you know, like it's, everybody wants to be part of a team, but like it's like that's a thing that has to be taught, frankly, like especially like within like leadership and stuff like that. So it always looks really dope. You obviously have like a love for local culture, and I've seen the acts you've had on the bill. So like what got you into like local artists, or have you thought about branching to bigger, like tell me what the goal is. I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think with starting the talent project, I was just so impressed by like how much talent there is around me, and like how many people I know like can sing really well, like perform really well, and like I don't know, stage presence is huge for me too. Yeah. So like every time I go to an open mic or something, I'm like always impressed if like there's a whole bill of people and then like one person stands out. I try to ask myself, it's like, what was it that like made that person stand out? Yeah. And then with the talent project, I would like go interview them, ask them questions about like how they got started, and then I had like this huge roster of just people I've talked to and met over the years, and I was like, well, maybe I should just put a show and like have other people experience the same thing I did. Yeah. So I've kind of taken that same thought into Heart of the City with just people I've met along the way, and I also try to like make sure like, you know, they're good people too, because I want to make sure like whoever's in my circle also, like if anybody else wants to talk to them or meet them, they'll know like, oh, Parisse knows them, so they're good people, type of thing. So that's big. So I guess to answer your question is like one of my goals is just to create a better narrative around, one, local musicians, and two, the industry at large. I feel like it's a pie in the sky type of goal, but just because it just has like such a bad stigma for so many years, decades of the industry, what that means, right? Yeah. And like local artists and what that means, like the amount of effort that it takes to like produce good acts for local smaller musicians. Yeah. Like what does that look like in terms of compared to like big art acts, you know?
So like how do you decide like I mean like quality control is a big deal obviously, but like how do you decide like when you're putting together like a bill for these shows, like how is it hard for you, because this is a thing that I feel like I struggle with. I feel like it's hard for me to try not to make a show like just marketed towards me, like like I'm putting like a bill of X that like I love, you know, like versus like trying to cater to like a community, to ticket buyers or whoever. Well, this event's free, right?
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah, okay, so how do you pull this off then and do this again like without like recouping in ticket sales and stuff like that? Or is it like grants and sponsorships and
so at first it was a lot of things coming out of pocket when I was doing like smaller versions, but then I had a really good opportunity with Rahway because I had one event in 2021, which was like an event that Rahway put on, right? It was like a culture crawl. Okay. And then my thought going into that was like, all right, we need culture in that, so I was like, let's highlight Black people and like Black and brown people in the area. So that was all completely out of pocket. Like I was like, if I want to make things happen, sometimes you got to sacrifice.
You got to invest in in your babies. Yeah,
exactly. So I met someone there that works for the city, and he shout out to Steve because he's a big advocate for me, and he works for the Rahway Rec Center. But he like proposed that like I have an event that stands alone, and they are willing to invest in it.
Wow.
So it's not a huge budget, right? But like I'm still grateful for it because it's like if I'm working with whatever X amount of dollars, then I know I can like put that towards hiring DJs and paying them out. Another goal of mine is making sure people eventually get paid for what their work. The DJs, the art that's being shown, a lot of the equipment got to be paid through that budget.
Yeah.
So, that's eventually it. But it took a lot of time. Like I had to create pitch decks and like shout out to corporate because that's the only way I know how to do that.
Yo, it's crazy, right? Like you hate it in the moment, but like you do take it and put it's in your bag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it took all those skills, made a bunch of pitch decks about like how this idea comes to life, how much money it'll cost, and that's how I've been working with them ever since. Do you do any grant writing? I want to. I don't want to look into it. It's like one of those things that I haven't yet done or learned how to do, but I would love to like take it on and add that to
I asked because I'm looking for one.
Oh, yeah.
That, and I'm like playing with like ChatGPT and stuff like that, trying to learn how to do it myself.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm not too proud to look back at my notes in the middle of an interview. Because I feel like I'm super rusty because I haven't like done this podcast in so long. So
you're good. You're doing great so far. I appreciate it.
You know, before I look at my notes, before I quit, I'm gonna go to an old favorite question that I feel like I ask in like every interview I do lately.
Yeah.
So obviously music is like big for you. I mean, nobody that would throw a 2-time and in ongoing music festival and of local acts at that doesn't have a passion for music. So what would you say is like your first like music memory like as a kid like that you can think of?
Ooh. A lot of it would be my parents who be playing music around the house, cleaning or like in car rides, things like that. I was like in gymnastics when I was younger, so I feel like having that, like we used to dance to music obviously, would be stuck in my brain. And then my mom signed me up to play an instrument in like the third grade.
What instrument you play?
I played the flute.
Oh, me too.
I was a big Oh yeah? Okay. Shout out to flutes. Wind instruments.
Yeah, I play like almost every wind instrument, but flute is the one I was best at.
Yeah.
I wish I was better at tenor sax. That's my favorite.
I was always interested in sax, and I was like, oh god.
It's the same fingers though.
Oh yeah.
Just a different key. So like it's in E flat. You can play tenor sax.
I'm about to go pick up a sax.
Yeah. You can play it. It's the exact same fingers. Like instead of here is here. It's the exact same. Like E flat. It's all the exact same. It's just like a C for a flute is like an E flat and tenor sax. So the notes are different. You're reading bass clef, but 2 notes down. Same stuff.
Same thing. I'm gonna pick that up. I'm gonna go pick up an instrument again.
Right.
That's good to. That's cool to know. And a cool fact about you too. But I played the flute up until like 9th grade. I still have it. And still have all my sheet music and stuff.
Oh, wow. That I can't find.
In case I ever want to, I was trying to teach myself how to do it again during the pandemic.
That's a good tool to sharpen. Yeah.
So I just started off from like the basic. I don't know if you ever had those the
like workbooks. Yeah.
And it was like the red, I forgot what brand it was. And they had a red, blue, and green book.
Yeah. I remember all of that.
So I was like, let me start from the basics and with my scales. I love music from there. I love hearing like the things that people are able to do because, being able to play instruments, how difficult that is. Yeah. Being able to like sing, how difficult it is to like do certain things with your vocals. So I think I've just always seen music that way, just being able to appreciate like because you've tried or learned, you can see like the skill level required for certain things.
That's like one of my favorite answers to that question, Ron. I feel like everybody always just says, oh yeah, my mom used to play Anita Baker in the crib, which is everybody's existence, honestly. Yeah. But that was like a real like creative answer. I like that one.
Thanks. I just skim over the parents playing music. I was like, everybody's parent did that.
So, but what was playing in the house growing up?
I'm Jamaican, so.
Okay.
But, my mom, even though I feel like Caribbean people, they don't like secular music sometimes, especially old school people. My mom was like doing like, I don't know, she was doing the opposite and like exposing me to like the different types of music. So she was playing everything. I feel like something that always sticks with me are like the DeBarges for some reason. Like hearing that in the house and hearing her sing it. And like, I remember when I was working at this radio station and I got tickets to go see El DeBarge. And I brought my mom, and I was like, "Oh, this is like full circle for me," because like us hearing it together. As
like a kid, that's got to be fire. Like to bring your parent to their favorite show, like that's.
Yeah, I just also bought tickets earlier this year to that Anita Baker concert, but that was controversial. So.
Yeah. So all right, so you brought up secular music. That tells me you're Christian, right? Yeah. So Pentecostal or Kojic. You're West Indian, so I'm gonna. That's my guess. Those are my guesses. Or am I wrong?
Mom's family like Pentecostal, but I grew up Baptist.
Okay.
Yeah. So
gotcha.
Like she like even the church that she went to and she was in Jamaica was Baptist church. So like
gotcha.
Plot twist.
Yeah. Now that was cliche. That was a cliche ass question to ask. All right. So let's All right, so Heart in the City, are you planning that for the next coming year? I imagine it's that time.
It is that time. I try not to put too much pressure on myself, but I see like the dates and I'm like, like I try to start planning in January.
Okay.
And I see like the months are starting to tick by. I'm like, oh God, I gotta start doing it. But I try to work on like one project at a time.
Yeah. So what's the project right now, since it's not January?
Right now, so the city, Rahway reached out to me to help them plan an entertainment segment of an event they're doing in January. It's during Martin Luther King weekend. So their objective is like, the name of the event is a sneaker ball. And they're hoping to attract, the youth, Black folks, who like to really show them like the opportunities available for them. And then... and I don't know, just having a good time, like things that can bring them out. So, working on that right now. I'm really excited about it because it's like the first like opportunity that I didn't have to reach out to anyone for. Like they came to me, and they
applying the permits is it's coming.
Exactly,
so.
They trusted me with the idea, and I really was just trying to figure out like how can we again showcase Black folks doing cool things.
Yeah.
So. Planning a fashion show, performance after the fashion show, have a DJ coming through, photo opportunities throughout, and a band too. So
that's fire.
Really fun.
Do you have a date on that, or it's still
January 13th?
January 13th. Okay, yeah. This is gonna drop like before holiday time, so I figure this is a
good thing time
January 14th, guys.
13th.
See, I'm messing this up already. All right, so you started in 2021. And so that's like there's no such thing as post-pandemic,
right.
but so I threw shows like pre-pandemic, and then like I throw an annual R&B showcase called Feels Like R&B, usually around like Valentine's Day. So I'm always paranoid about the weather and it like snowing in the middle of February and nobody comes out.
Yeah.
You throw an outdoor festival. Do you have any kind of like paranoia about it raining or anything?
God.
Like, is there a rain date usually?
Yeah. Okay. I do have nightmares about it raining though. But we like make sure with the city I try to have like a rain date. It's either like a week later or 2 weeks later.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But like that was just like me thinking as an event curator. I'm like, yo, if I did something outdoor, one, it'd be fire, but the sun has to be out. Like, knock on wood, it's never snowed for any of my stuff, and it's indoors, obviously. But, that's just something I thought about. Like, that's got to, like, that takes a bravery that I think people don't think about when they're just out there enjoying themselves.
That's absolutely true, especially in the wintertime. I feel like people are less likely to go anywhere when it's really cold or if it's snowy. So like I don't blame you. I feel like that's super frustrating if like something you can't change happens and then it affects the outcome.
That's why I do pre-sale tickets. If you now granted I usually work with my venue about having a having a snow day. Shout out to Above Art Studios. I haven't forgot about you, Tox. He's gonna watch this and be like, yeah, okay. So what? Tell me what else about the festival? Like, it's not just music. Obviously, I mean, like we talking about like doing things for Black and brown people in the area, but like, there has to be other elements of art and obviously like food and vendors and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, what else? All right, so take me through it. What else is a person gonna expect at the next Hearts in the City? That's not a surprise.
Yeah. I feel like we usually try to have as many vendors as we can and as the space allows. Vendors are huge too, because this year I really felt like the camaraderie with how they just came in droves and like decorated their tables and their area with their signage and all that. Which made it come alive while people were like walking around and things like that. Yeah. And I think what's also important to me too is just the team that's around me, and making sure like they're Black and brown too. Yeah. Giving them opportunities and whatever their interests are to like grow that through this. Yeah. And if there's anything that they're looking to enhance, like if they want to add stuff to their resume, like I feel like my number one goal is to make sure people can learn new things or have the opportunity to promote their business and whatever like way I could be like a liaison for like all those things. Like that's just always on my mind. So this year we had like a community art project on the wall, which was really nice to see.
Like a big mural or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Exactly. So we put like this huge tarp, and people were just like, we just put out paint, and whoever wanted to walked up, and people like were naturally attracted to it. Yeah. Just letting whatever spoke to them go on the wall. That's cool. It was really pretty to see like all the kids come up and like their hands were being painted on the wall.
Yeah, like they added their own contribution to it. Yeah. That's cool.
And at the end of the day, it was really pretty to see. Took pictures, all of that, and posting them too. So, yeah.
So I feel like all the people I know in Rahway are Black. So like we're talking about servicing Black and brown people, but what's the demographic like around here? Like is it mostly Black or?
That's the thing too, which is what made me want to start this. Is a lot of people assume that Rahway might be predominantly white, and it's not like that. I think that's just like what is offered to this to the public. Feels like really things cater to white folks, and nothing's wrong with that. You know, they have their time too, but majority of us that live in the town are Black and brown. I think it's 33% of folks in Rahway are white, and then it's like split like 30 and 30 with Black and brown folks. Oh, okay. Who aren't. So that's obviously the majority, right? Yeah. And but there aren't a lot of things that like are representative of like that in our town besides like food, restaurants, stuff like that. So want to as our town changes a lot more, have like apartment buildings coming up, people from New York moving in, didn't want to change the dynamic of like what this town actually is, and wanted to keep that true.
I feel that. Yeah. I feel like that's the case with like most areas. So I'm from Neptune. Neptune is, I would say, it's crazy. I would say the town is probably like 60% Black, and then maybe like 30 and then 10 white, then Latino. But the school is like 90% Black. Like, so, but like you look and I bet you it's like business owners in the town aren't Black. You know? Like
exactly.
Aren't 90% Black or 60% Black like representing the neighborhood. So, just thinking about that for, I guess, my own communities. And
no, it's pretty similar. I feel like that's how most of these communities are built or set, and kind of like it's up to us to kind of like keep or like be more aware of that and see what we can do to change that dynamic. Because I know our time at Rahway Middle School, for anybody that was there, was not what is portrayed in these streets. Yeah. And our Rahway Middle School was I feel like anybody from that town will know or always go back to that time being like, it was wild. Yeah. It was fun, but it was also a little bit like it set the tone for like what it really is like here.
Gotcha. We've pretty much touched everything in my notes before I even got to them, so I'm like very impressed by myself, and you should be impressed with me too. I mean, we didn't talk about you acting. I see the skits and stuff. So, like, what did you go to school for?
Okay, I went to school for business marketing. I was originally in architecture, switched that, and ended up in marketing. But I loved like theater as a kid, and I always loved acting and like film, and just never had the opportunities to like dabble in it or just to find ways to express myself that way.
Okay.
So my friends and I, one of my friends like started off as a videographer, and he was, shout out to Julian, he was always looking for like new opportunities to kind of like build his ideas. Yeah. He teamed up with our other friend Rob, who was a photographer, and they started Play Factory, just kind of testing out their limits on like what they can do with video and photography. And then they want to expand into like writing and film and production. And they were asking like, okay, who wants to join? So I raised my hand, and our other friends DZ and Mark, we all raised our hands, and we were like, all right, let's do this thing. We're gonna figure it out along the way. There's gonna be bumps, and we're gonna run into some like, I don't know, tribulations, but it's all like a learning process like everything else. And it's super fun along the way.
If you had the time, would you like pursue that?
Yeah, if I had the time, honestly, even now, like I wish I had more time to like dedicate myself to just doing that. But you know, you can't do 100% of everything. So
I've tried.
Exactly. So I think that's where I'm at now, just trying to find a balance of like where my passions lead me. But I love Play Factory. Like the work that we do there is just so fun, and I wish more people knew like how much time went into like
it looks fun. It looks fun as hell.
So that's a little plug. Follow Play Factory Co. on Instagram, YouTube.
Well, where can we find your socials and all of your stuff?
Yeah, my socials. Personal handle is Welcome to Parisse, or WLCMTO. PARISSE.
That's what that means.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little complicated, but I've like had it for so long that I know the meaning behind it. So
gotcha.
I don't know if I want to change it eventually, but anyway, Heart of the City NJ on Instagram, and Play Factory Co. on Instagram, YouTube.
Gotcha. Is there anything you want to add before we get up out of here?
No, I'm so glad you had me.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on.
Yeah.
I'm really thankful you came and stayed, even though I was late. Like, I'm slacking. Yo, traffic in like Kenilworth was crazy.
Ew, Kenilworth.
Yeah.
Stay out of there. No one likes Kenilworth.
Nah, my GPS like took me like 2 exits too early, and I had
to go through there.
It was crazy.
That's a terrible town, by the way. Sorry.
I've heard. It's
very
funny.
Close. It's Clark adjacent.
But I'm Ramsey Said What. This is the A-Side B-Side podcast. It's branded by what'sthemovement.net. Thank you guys for watching. We're on YouTube now because everybody's like, oh, where can I watch your podcast? And I'm like, podcasts you listen to. You can
everybody wants to watch
it
now.
Everywhere. So now that you guys want to watch it, we're in 4K and on YouTube. A-Side B-Side podcast on Instagram. It's not on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. But you can follow me, Ramsey Said What, everywhere on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. And as always, thank you for listening. Oh, we're on Audio Mac. Shout out to the good folks there. We usually trend whenever I post there. So shout out to you guys. Yeah, we're back and like gonna be here consistently this time. But thank you guys for listening and watching. See you later.